Sorry, I'm a little bit late today. I literally just rushed to the table today. How's everyone doing?
It's all good, thank you. How are you, Prabhu?
Slightly different schedule for me at the moment, but managing.
Oh yes, of course. Yeah, your wife's back to work. I mean, work in the hospital, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So she's been working in the hospital for, it's actually coming up to a month now.
Oh yeah.
And we tried a few different childcare options.
Mm.
And we've resolved to be at my parents' house a couple of days a week.
Yeah.
So I rushed back from there, have
Oh.
my dinner, and then jump on the Zoom call.
Oops.
So let's see how this works out.
Mm.
Okay. Oh, I see my mom's online as well. Hi, Bo. She's on mute. Also, it'd be good if we can have many devotees on the camera as well, as always. As you know what it's like if you go to Sangha and someone's just wearing like a black bag over their head and you can't see who they are. So we want a group where we can see the devotees who are participating. That would be nice. We're just about ready to begin. I think we're up to the normal numbers now. So I'll just start by reading from the Principles of Good Sadhu Sangha. The 15th principle of Good Sadhu Sangha. Chant Hare Krishna mantra regularly and follow the 4 regulative principles. So for reading a discussion Sangha, one might wonder how this principle applies. Chanting japa and following the regulative principles. How does this apply? Well, my thought on this was that obviously by hearing about the pastimes of Krishna and devoting oneself to him in that way, then naturally we should want to attain Krishna, and the process given to us by which we can attain Krishna is by following the regulative principles and by chanting the Hare Krishna mantra regularly. So they really go hand in hand. That if we really feel like we're benefiting from the Sangha, then we can practically take that benefit with us by chanting Hare Krishna and experience further benefit in our life. Does anyone else have any reflections on this principle?
Yeah.
Why it's important to chant and follow principles? How does that impact our let's say participation in the group? Any thoughts about that?
Sadhu Sangha.
Yes, Haribol. I think it's obviously chanting and sadhu sangha is very important, and I think also is keeping you, give you like a boost for our daily sadhana. Yeah.
Yeah, sorry.
Can they hear?
I think
Another thing I could think of was that the reason for chanting the 16 rounds and following the 4 principles is that purity is there, that our life becomes Krishna-centered. And so when we read and discuss about Krishna, because we have that dedication to Krishna, we'll get so much more out of it. Krishna will reveal himself so much more in our spiritual practice, in chanting and in maintaining the principles. Krishna will keep us very strong. So it's a whole package. That's another thought I had as well, actually. Okay, so let me just see it.
Can I say something?
Hare
Yes,
Krishna?
please, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, following 4 principles make you human being, and chanting minimum 16 rounds connect with Krishna.
Yeah, that's right. That's nice.
And
point.
that's the beginning of the process.
Yeah. So these books are definitely meant for human beings. So bringing oneself to the level of human being, or what the scriptures call human being, isn't it, Prabhu? Is
Yeah.
someone who can follow these regulatory principles.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Hare Krishna, sorry, as well as we can, sorry, avoid sinful reactions by chanting and remembering Krishna.
Avoid
A
sinful
lot
reaction.
more. Yeah,
Mm,
in act of devotion, it says.
that's a nice point. Yeah. Yeah, because we are reading so much about Krishna finishing and destroying these demons and how they remove different anarthas. And unless we're actually practicing the process of bhakti yoga ourselves, then how will Krishna remove our anarthas? If we're just hearing about the demons and and they're all getting purified, that's all very good for them. And even the devotees practicing is all very good for them. But what about for oneself? If we also want to feel that we want to be purified and reach Krishna, then that process of chanting and following the principles will free us from our previous bad sinful activities. It could be hundreds of lives before, we don't know, which has led us to this point.
And engaging in a devotional service, it keeps us away from sinful activities.
Yeah.
Because we haven't got time for that.
Yeah. So we make time for the sadhu sangha,
Yeah.
which means we're not making time for sinful activities because we could be doing so many other things right now. So yeah. Okay.
It's like you become ill and then you take tablets, medicine. But if you don't become ill, then you don't need a tablets or medicine, do you?
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, if you look after
Definitely.
yourself.
So Prabhupada says in one place that this, like following the regulative principles, is like is like inoculation. They give injection for inoculation.
Yeah.
It's to prevent a disease happening. You take an injection which prevents the disease. So the regulative principles like that, it prevents something happening as well. So not only by chanting and practicing Krishna consciousness, we free ourselves from already previous sinful actions. We also protect ourselves from future reactions as well, future actions which could be sinful. Yeah, that's a nice point. Thank you both.
Regulative principles means it makes you regular.
Yeah, regulates your life.
Regulate your life, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Haribo.
Yeah, I just wanted to add a point, if it's possible.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just regarding chanting. I think my experience is that when I started chanting about 10, 12 years ago, I just did it because I wanted to go to the yatra and I thought, okay, that is a necessity to do. And gradually you start acquiring a taste. And then you're not chanting as like a robot, and as you start chanting more and more, you start acquiring the taste of chanting, and you start feeling that the bad things are coming out of your heart. You feel the experience of all these anarthas coming out, and eventually you just I would say slightly get attached to chanting as well. And it just brings a lot of, to me, it has brought a lot of peace to my mind and a lot of peace to your heart as well. Because, that sort of peace, you can't even get it from doing the yoga asanas, which they usually say, okay, if you go and do yoga asanas and everything, because I went to Bahamas where they do practice this a lot, but they too chant. So I think chanting brings a lot of peace in the heart. Gradually, it just attracts you to other services as well, as it starts purifying you. Because I was just reading about the chanting that I can't remember the name of this Acharya who was so attached to his chanting. I read about it yesterday in Shivram Maharaj's book, and he was saying that he was so attached to the chanting that, you know, when he was using toilets, he was trying to hold his tongue to stop chanting, but he was so like attached. He couldn't hold his tongue to stop chanting, and he was saying that, you know, is and a little boy came and said, you know, you can chant anywhere. So the other benefit about chanting is, even like, you know, if you practice chanting, and if you are involved into an accident, or if you are just about to leave your body or in anything, you will be anywhere. I mean, if, for example, if you were involved into an accident while you're leaving your body, you could start chanting. You cannot grab a book to start reading because you wouldn't even know this is going to happen. So it's when we start getting into a practice of chanting, this is the benefit that, you know, we have if we practice chanting. So you can chant anywhere and anytime as well.
Yeah, so many wonderful points you made, Mom. Thanks. Okay, so let's begin the Sangha now. So we're on chapter 13, which is the stealing of the boys and calves by Brahma. And I'd like to ask for some volunteers for reading. So if you would like to volunteer to read, then place a number in the chat box in the order of reading. So if you want to be first, put a number 1. If you want to be second, put number 2, and so on. So we haven't got a first reader just yet. We're beginning from, which paragraph we're beginning from? Where did we finish last time?
At that time, the calves that were pasteurizing nearby enter into the deep forest. This we
Yeah,
familiar.
I think so as well, yeah. Okay, yeah. So this is just a few paragraphs into the 13th chapter, beginning with, at that time, the calves were pasturing. Okay. So I just chant invocation prayer before we begin. Krishna, 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 hey. Krishna, 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 hey. Krishna, 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 Rakshamam. Krishna, 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 Pahimam. Rama Raghava, Rama Raghava, Rama Raghava, Rakshamam. Krishna Keshava, Krishna Keshava, Krishna Keshava, Pahimam. Okay, I see we've got a couple of volunteers now for reading. So just to recap where we were last time, we've started this chapter because after describing the killing of Aghasura in the previous chapter, Maharaj Parikshit inquired from Sukadeva Goswami why this pastime wasn't spoken about for 1 year. The boys didn't speak to their mothers about this pastime for 1 year. And he picked up on that point and he inquired further. And then this whole chapter began. In fact, the next 2 chapters began because Sukadeva Goswami, his spiritual master, started to narrate there was a pastime in between, which happened. And this is the pastime of Brahma, who stole the calves and the boys from Krishna. And so they they were away for 1 year. And that's what we're going to read about. Okay. So this is just the previous paragraph was just a couple of paragraphs were just setting the scene, about the forest area where the boys have gone for their breakfast, and the different play that they had before starting their lunch. Oh, sorry, before starting their food. Okay. So who's our first reader? Is it Lanisha?
Yes, Prabhu. Yeah.
Hope you're feeling better this week.
Yeah.
That's good news. Missed you last week, even though you were watching. We didn't hear you.
It's
Very wonderful reader, isn't it, Lanisha? Huh?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Okay, so you're first today.
At that time, the cows were pasturing nearby. Entered into the deep forest, allured by new grasses, and gradually went out of sight. When the boys saw that the calves were not nearby, they became afraid for their safety, and they immediately cried out, "Krishna! Krishna is the killer of fear personified." Everyone is afraid of fear personified, but fear personified is afraid of Krishna. By crying out the word Krishna, the boys at once transcended the fearful situation. Out of his great affection, Krishna did not want his friends to give up their pleasing lunch engagement and go searching for the calves. He therefore said, "My dear friends, you need not interrupt your lunch. Go on enjoying. I am going personally to find the calves." Thus, Lord Krishna, still carrying the lump of yogurt and rice preparation in his left hand, immediately started to search out the calves in the caves and bushes. He searched in the mountain holes and in the forests, but nowhere could he find them.
Okay. Anyone have any thoughts on this? I found it interesting that Krishna, he began to search for the calves. The boys called him to search for the calves. He began to search for the calves while he still was carrying the food in his hand, which he was about to eat. So how urgent then is the plea of devotees to Krishna? Isn't that really amazing? He didn't think, okay, let me just finish what's in my hand. Even he was obviously it was in his hand. He's literally about to put it from the plate to his mouth. But in that moment, he even stopped. When devotees call Krishna, you can imagine when we call Krishna. In fact, just coming to this point about chanting again, when we call Krishna, just that time it takes to put food from the plate to your mouth, Krishna is willing to stop and attend to his devotees. So, you can see this is the mood of Krishna. Huh? Did anyone else want to share something from this paragraph?
Yeah. Here it says, Krishna did not want his friends to give up their pleasing lunch engagement and go searching for the clouds. So how much Krishna was caring for his friends, or you can call, devotees.
Yeah.
He was very caring.
So yeah, the lunch was very enjoyable.
Yeah.
But more,
Otherwise, everyone always respect him, so he doesn't have to worry about that. Someone else can take a care, but
yeah, Krishna personally left his lunch and wanted to attend to the situation himself. And this reminds me of a class I once heard quite some time ago, and the speaker was explaining how you don't have to be a pure devotee for Krishna to hear your prayers. I just found this really interesting because I always thought that unless you're like a really pure devotee, Krishna is not going to listen to you. But actually, that's not the case. Anyone who is sincere, anyone who is really trying to call or cry for Krishna, Krishna will listen to.
And also it says out of his great affection. So that's a loving relationship, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. And actually, Krishna has that loving relationship with everyone.
Yeah.
Everyone. Krishna has. Just that we haven't awakened that yet, you know? In the same way that the Asuras, they hadn't awakened their relationship for Krishna, but even by attacking Krishna, Krishna liberated them. Krishna saved them, even though they came to attack him. So what to speak of, just like, impure devotees or devotees with different motivations, different desires, material desires or so on, not pure devotees. But at least those who are trying, those who are practicing, Krishna's, waiting to reciprocate with us. Even then. Yeah. Thanks, Prabhu.
Even in the beginning of the Krishna book, George Harrison has written, all you need is love, Krishna.
Yeah. That's how he signs off, isn't it?
Yeah, he signed off.
His personal writing is there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he has signed on 31st March 70. 1970.
All right, so we can continue, unless there's some other comments. I can see Shashi Mataji wants to speak.
I was just reading the part where it says Krishna is a killer of fear personified. Everyone is afraid of fear personified, but fear personified is afraid of Krishna. I didn't really grasp what it's trying to say there.
Yes. See, every feature, everything that we experience in this world is governed by a personality. It's quite a difficult concept to get your head around. But it's explained that there are 33 million devatas. 33 million, right? So even for the most enthusiastic Hindu, you cannot fit that many on your altar, though you may try. 33 million. So every aspect of the nature, even for blinking your eyes, to have the power to blink your eyes, there's a deva who is like, yes, you can blink your eyes. Yes, you can blink your eyes. So in that way, in every way, there is a personality who is behind every activity, who is behind every action, who is behind every feature of the world. So there is a personality who is fear, the personality of fear, or fear personified, you can say. Sometimes it's said that Yamaraj is the Lord of Death, Yamaraj. He's like fear personified. People are afraid of so many things, but the most fearful thing is death. So even death is afraid of Krishna, in one sense. So even fear personified is afraid of Krishna. So therefore we have this prayer, Mrityu Namamyaham, the prayer to Lord Nrsimhadev, because even fear personified is afraid of that form of Nrsimhadev, because he is even more ferocious. So Krishna can be like that when he wants to be. Is that okay, Mataji?
Yeah, thank you, Prabhu.
Thanks for your question. Okay, then we can continue.
At the time when Agashura was killed and the demigods were looking on the incident with great surprise, Brahma, who was born of the lotus flower growing out of the navel of Vishnu, also came to see. He was surprised how a little boy like Krishna could act so wonderfully. Although he was informed that the little coward boy was the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he wanted to see more of the Lord's glorious pastimes, and thus he stole all of the calves and cowherd boys and took them to a different place. Lord Krishna, therefore, in spite of searching for the calves, could not find them, and he even lost his boyfriend on the bank of the Yamuna, where they had been taking their lunch. In the form of a cowherd boy, Lord Krishna was very little in comparison to Brahma, but because he is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he could immediately understand that all the calves and boys had been stolen by Brahma. Krishna thought, Brahma has taken away all the boys and calves. How can I alone return to Vrindavana? The mothers will be aggrieved.
Some accompanying music in the background there. So does anyone want to share on this paragraph?
Hare Krishna.
Hi, Krishna.
Yeah, I just wanted to share just one thing that, just creating one pastime, Krishna fulfills so many desires of his devotees. So it was a long yearning desire of all the, elderly gopis to have Krishna as his, like, they had a desire that they would love to love somebody like Krishna as their son. And all the cows, they had this desire, to serve Krishna. So creating this pastime, he was also fulfilling the desire of all the elderly gopas and gopis to become Krishna in this pastime. Krishna becomes their children and the calves. So it's a really nice pastime.
Yeah, that's right. So that's going to become more apparent in the next paragraph also. Yeah, so Krishna has this feature that from one action he can fulfill many objectives. Yeah.
Yeah, end of the paragraph. Krishna says, how can I alone return to Vrindavan? So that moment, he just considered himself like other boys, even being a Supreme Personality of Godhead.
Yeah. Krishna was so absorbed in the pastime himself.
And the next moment, he's acting as a Supreme Personality of Godhead, which is in the beginning of next paragraph anyway.
Okay. One thing, does anyone else would like to comment on here or ask a question? One thing I read from Jiva Goswami in the Gopal Champu is that he explains how Lord Brahma, he didn't have, he wasn't trying to manipulate Krishna, but he was actually amazed, as it said here. He looked with great surprise at how Aghasura was killed, and he was just surprised, like, by Krishna's, again, the word surprised is used, how that little Krishna, he just plays so innocently. So these two things, even with his great mind, with his 4 brains, Brahma has 4 heads, with his 4 brains, he couldn't figure out how amazing Krishna was, So, for us, we take it very simply that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, because Srila Prabhupada has given us a very direct path that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Every page, Prabhupada tells us. So it's very easy for us to accept. But, Chatur Mukha Brahma, with all each head, he's learning a different Veda, or he's reciting a different Veda. The 4 Vedas, they come from the 4 heads of Brahma. So even though he knows all of the Vedas, all that extra knowledge, all the extra intelligence that he has, it doesn't help him to see that, you know, the sweet and innocent activities of Krishna, and at the same time how Krishna has this very powerful position is beyond his, you know, his understanding, even though he understands everything there is to understand in this universe. So it's amazing how Prabhupada has made it very simple and direct for us, that we don't need to know so many other things, but if we just know this one thing, then everything will fall in place. If we know that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and we approach him, then everything will fall in place. On the other hand, Brahma, he had this very broad intelligence. But still, this chapter is called the Brahma Vimohan Leela. So the bewilderment of Brahma. So even if someone is greatly intelligent, still they can be bewildered. And so Jiva Goswami, he says that that Lord Brahma, he wanted to see with his intelligence how Krishna is so wonderful, because he just couldn't understand it. You know, so therefore he stole the boys with his own power, his own intellectual power. And Krishna will reciprocate with him with his power, and that's what he wants to see. Is that okay? Yeah. All right. Okay, so we could continue unless there's any other comments or questions. No? All right.
Therefore, in order to satisfy the mothers of his friends, as well as to convince Brahma of the supremacy of the personality of Godhead, he immediately expanded himself as the cowherd boys and calves. In the Vedas, it is said that the Supreme Personality of Godhead has already expanded himself into so many living entities by his energy. Therefore, it was not very difficult for him to expand himself again into so many boys and calves. He expanded himself to become exactly like the boys, who were of all different features and facial and bodily constructions, and who were all different in their clothing and ornaments and in their behavior and personal activities. In other words, although each boy, being an individual soul, had entirely different tastes, activities, and behavior, Krishna exactly expanded himself into all the different positions of the individual boys. He also became the calves, who were also different sizes, colors, activities, etc. This was possible because everything is an expansion of Krishna's energy. In the Vishnu Purana, it is said, Parasya Brahmana Shakti, whatever we actually see in the cosmic manifestation, be it matter or the activities of the living entities, is simply an expansion of the energies of the Lord, as heat and light are different expansions of fire.
Okay, so many wonderful points made in this paragraph, isn't it? So now Krishna is progressing the pastime by expanding himself. Explain, yeah? So Brahma's taken the boys, and Krishna then, he expands himself exactly like the boys, and the calves also missing. So he expands himself like the calves as well.
And it's amazing, Krishna, I remember all the boys dressing and their activities and colors, and you know, and they were not like 5-15, were they? Thousands of them. And exactly same. It's not like a little bit out.
Yeah, that's a nice point.
Yeah.
Krishna actually could remember, you know, his memory was that good that he could remember exactly how they were.
Yeah.
You know, we just think all these things, they're just automatic, you know.
Yeah.
There's no personality. But actually, Krishna's personality is working in that wonderful way that you can actually remember how each and every one was on that specific day.
Yeah.
And it's not like they needed to dress in a different way I mean, it's not like they needed to dress the same way every day, isn't it? Every day they could have some different features, slightly, you know, just like we have different taste, different days, you know. So every day, you know, Krishna remembered exactly that day what all of these, you know, thousands of boys look like exactly.
And
Wow, that's really amazing.
even being a little boy, he was unlimited.
Yeah, and this is what Brahma wanted to see. He wanted to see how great Krishna's intelligence was. So Prabhupada explains a philosophical point here about how everything comes from Krishna. Everything is therefore Krishna, you know. Even in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says in one of the chapters that Brahmano Pratishtatam, that everything rests on me. Like even Brahman is resting on me, and then from that everything comes. So everything is emanating from Krishna. Another place Krishna says that everything is emanating from me, like the way that pearls are on a thread. You know, everyone sees the pearls, isn't it? When you have a pearl necklace, you all see the pearls, but nobody sees that string which is holding all the pearls together. So Krishna is like that. Everything rests on him. And each of those pearls, they all look very similar, but they each have their own individual characteristic, isn't it? So each of these boys, each of these calves is very individual and different. But they only exist because Krishna exists. Nothing can exist without Krishna. Krishna is like the fountainhead of all existence. Yeah? So just like you have a fountain, and from there water comes out, you see all that water coming out from a fountain. So if the fountainhead is not there, then that water feature cannot exist, isn't it? In the pool, you know? So in that way, so many different examples we can take. Prabhupada used another example here at the end of this chapter. Did anyone catch that one? Sorry, at the end of this paragraph, sorry.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Is that the bit when it's saying whatever we actually see in the cosmic manifestation?
Yes.
Is that what the?
Yes, and there Prabhupada gives an example. So that's the right sentence, yeah. Did anyone catch the example? Or did you see the example that Prabhupada gives here?
It's heat and light.
Yes, Mataji?
It's like heat and light are different from fire. Expansions of fire.
Heat and light are different from fire. Yeah. So we know how when there's fire, the energy of the fire is two. It's heat and light, isn't it? So you cannot have heat and light if there's no fire, right? No one has experienced a fire which doesn't have heat or which doesn't have light. So like that, we can understand that Krishna is the resting principle on everything. So it's no problem for Krishna to expand into all of these boys and calves. So in one sense, they're all coming from him. But in another sense, they all are individual also. They're all individual living beings also that want to serve Krishna, just like we are all individual living beings. So this is the thing. So Prabhupada often quotes this phrase from the Vedas that Nityo Nityanam Chaitanas Chaitananam, that of all the living beings, there is one leader. So all of the living beings are all equal, but there is a leader amongst them all, and that's Krishna. And so that way, although these boys are all individual and different, they all have their different identities, Krishna expands and he matches their individuality. So there's two aspects. So one is that everything comes from Krishna anyway, and another aspect is that everyone is individual, and still Krishna can match the individual nature of everyone. So this is like basically twofold founding principles of our Hare Krishna philosophy, or the Gaudiya Vaishnava Siddhanta. And so that's called as Achintya Veda Veda Tattva. How is it that we are from the same quality as Krishna, and at the same time we're different from Krishna? How is it that we can be the same as Krishna and still different? And that is inconceivable. It's Achintya. Krishna is Achintya Shakti. It's inconceivable how we are. So even this principle is bewildering Brahma. Yeah, so we can accept it in a very simple way, which is very nice, the way Prabhupada presents it. But actually, it's a very deeply philosophical truth. It's inconceivable that Krishna can create something which is from him and still different from him, which is the same as him and also different from him. So we can continue reading on unless there's any questions about that or comments further. Okay.
Thus expanding himself as the boys and calves in their individual capacities, and surrounded by such expansions of himself, Krishna entered the village of Vrindavana. The residents had no knowledge of what had happened. After entering the village of Vrindavana, all the calves entered their respective cowsheds, and the boys went to their respective mothers and homes.
Okay. Any other thoughts or comments? We can continue.
The mothers of the boys heard the vibration of their flutes before their entrance, and to receive them, they came out of their homes and embraced them. And out of maternal affection, milk was flowing from their breasts, and they allowed the boys to drink it. However, their offering was not exactly to the boys, but to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who expanded himself into such boys. This was a chance for all the mothers of Vrindavana to feed the Supreme Personality of Godhead with their own milk. Therefore, not only did Krishna give Yashoda the chance to feed him, but this time he gave the chance to all the other elder gopis.
So here, would anyone like to summarize this paragraph and what's happened? In your own words.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Krishna's given everyone the mercy of serving serving him and giving that opportunity, like he has to Mother Yashoda.
Yeah, that's a really wonderful understanding of that paragraph. Yeah. So that's mercy. That's Krishna's giving mercy. Yeah, that he's put himself in everybody's homes, and they don't know any better. They still think that this is their own boy, huh? Or their own calf. Not even the cows think that this is their own calf. So so nobody knows their child better than the mother, right? But in this case, Krishna could present himself in a way even the mother didn't recognize their own child, because he was so immaculately identical.
Yashoda thinks Krishna is only her child, only belongs to her. But Krishna says he's belong to everyone.
Yeah, that's a really nice point, Prabhu. So Krishna, he shows that here, isn't it, in this pastime? Yeah. And Jiva Goswami, he elaborates on this a little bit further, and he says that the love that Mother Yashoda felt for Krishna, that love, these other gopis felt twice as much. They felt twice as much as what Mother Yashoda felt for Krishna when Krishna came as their own sons. That's like, wow, you know. So coming back to this point about mercy, it wasn't that they just thought that this was their son and they loved him, and you know, it was like they were secretly serving Krishna. But actually they felt more love. Not even the love that Mother Yashoda felt, but twice that love. Wow. So for 1 year, they were like feeling double what Mother Yashoda felt. But for 1 year. So that's certainly a lot of mercy, isn't it? Yeah. So even though they couldn't be Mother Yashoda, they didn't feel any lacking from this pastime. So that's really amazing.
Sorry. So Krishna fulfilled Gopi's desires, isn't it? Which they added to have Krishna as their son.
Yeah. He fulfilled their desires. That's the ultimate point. Yeah. Yes, Kirtika Matadi. Can't hear you so well. Seems to be a problem with your microphone. You're not muted, but there's no sound coming through. Maybe you have to check the computer. Sorry. Anyone else?
Yeah, just one reflection that I had while I was reading the pastime and listening, that the cows, they usually when they were running down, when they saw the calves coming, they really ran down, which was not very usual. And all the elderly coward men were just wondering why they're running around. Usually they would run around to their smaller calves, but this was slightly bigger calves. So it was like a very unusual thing happening there as well. And the same thing happening to the elderly Gopas. I mean, they were just like so full of love, and they just kissed their sons on their forehead. So it was really something different happening, especially with the calves, because normally the cows would just reciprocate with the smaller calves, but this was slightly elder ones, and their love was overflowing for this the elder calves than the smaller ones.
Yeah. So Lord Brahma took a specific set of calves, huh? It was the slightly older calves and not the very youngest ones. And those were the ones that the cows felt more affection towards, because they were the ones that were actually Krishna acting as those calves. And so then, yeah, I think it's the next paragraph actually that's described in more detail how the cows were running behind them down the hill.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, can I be heard now?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Okay.
Very good.
So I think it further emphasizes the point that whatever relationship you want to have with Krishna, so if you wanted to be his mother or you wanted to be his friend, whatever relationship you wanted to have with him, he will abide to that, I feel, because the gopis wanted to be the mother for Krishna, and he made this leela so that they could benefit. So there's not just one way you can worship Krishna or have a relationship with him.
Yeah, that's right. It's a really amazing point. Yeah. So practically speaking, it's up to us how we desire to worship Krishna. You know? I think when we first started Krishna book, someone had asked this question about how is that Krishna's God? Because they are not worshipping him. Even though they're the closest devotees, they're not worshipping him. Well, that can be answered by this point, that their mood or their mode of worship is that they act as Krishna's friends, or they act as Krishna's cows, or they act as Krishna's elders. That's their mode of worship. And we can choose, actually, if we want to. If we have that desire, then Krishna will fulfill that desire. If we want to worship Krishna in a very regal and respectful way, then Krishna will give us that. But if we want to increase our love to to this way which the Brajabasis love Krishna, then Krishna will allow us. There's no restriction. Yeah.
So it's a different rasa.
Yeah. So Prabhupada says that we cannot desire to be Mother Yashoda because that position is already taken. There is already a Mother Yashoda. So those who are coming, who try to understand Krishna's pastimes from impersonal teachers, they're told that, you just have to want to be like Mother Yashoda and then you can be Mother Yashoda. But actually, no, that's not possible. You cannot be Mother Yashoda because there is a Mother Yashoda. She's a real person. She's a real devotee of Krishna. And she's acting as Krishna's mother. She's serving as Krishna's mother. So then what is there for us, But actually we can aspire to follow like Mother Yashoda. Rupa Goswami explains in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. He explains you can follow in the footsteps of the Brajabasis. So you cannot become like someone who is there, but you can follow like that, and Krishna will fulfill your desire. Just as these other gopis, they couldn't become Mother Yashoda, but they had that desire to be a mother, as well in the pastimes of Krishna. And so Krishna, he became their son. And actually the Jiva Goswami says that the way that they saw their son in that year, they didn't think of their son as their son. Usually you would think like, my child is my child. They didn't think of their son like that. They thought that this child is Krishna's friend. So even though they had that idea that it was their son, that wasn't the primary kind of psychology for them. They were caring for that child like that child was Krishna's friend. So even Krishna's relationship to that child was the first thing, and then the second thing was, I'm looking after this child. So like deeply engrossed they were in Krishna, so Krishna conscious, that Krishna is first even then. They didn't think like, okay, I have my home and I have my family, and there's Krishna on the other side of Vrindavan with his mom and dad, and like we just go on living like that. It wasn't like that. But they thought this child is Krishna's friend. They loved Krishna that much that they thought their child is Krishna's friend. They thought of that first. Is it more clear? So that's really amazing too. I don't know if that made enough sense though, the way I may not have explained it well.
Yeah, Prabhu. So you can actually, it's like you can pray to Mother Yashoda, please give me your mercy to love Krishna or serve him like you have.
Yeah, absolutely. So we can pray to all these pure devotees for their mercy, so that we can follow in their footsteps, so that we can attain that love that they have. First of all, we pray to our spiritual master, to Srila Prabhupada, by whose mercy we can approach these great devotees, by whose mercy we can approach Krishna also, and by whose mercy we can understand actually what is our Swarup Siddhi, what is our eternal nature, So we should be open that, Krishna will reveal that to us.
And sometimes by that mercy, if someone's completely blind or helpless and has got no direction or someone giving them direction, if your soul is completely sincere, then Srila Prabhupada would always guide you without you even knowing that he's guiding you, or Lord Sri Krishna, I suppose.
Yes, of course. That's the importance of the spiritual master, that Krishna guides us through the through the via medium of the spiritual master. You know, like you can see something well. Like you can see like in the garden, you're kind of looking at the ground. You can see the grass and you can see the land. And then if you have a magnifying glass and you put that over, and then you can see so much more into the ground, you know? It's a kind of a crude example. So that sometimes we think like, you know, that I have a relationship with Krishna, you know? And I want to know what is my relationship with Krishna, or I want this particular relationship with Krishna. So sometimes there's a tendency to think like that. But what is recommended is that we learn ourselves, we become self-realized, we learn about who we are through the via medium of the spiritual masters who are between us and Krishna. In the same way that if you have a magnifying glass and you put another magnifying glass and another and another and another, then your intensity just becomes so much more. So this is actually the mercy of the spiritual master. Is that more clear?
Yeah, thank you.
So they can magnify that for us. Excuse me. Okay. Does anyone else like to comment or question, or we can move on from here? We can have the next reader then. Who's reader number 2? Is it Madhvi Mataji or is it Jai Prakash Prabhu? Madhvi Mataji?
Yes, Satyanarayana
Okay.
will read. No, you read. You won't get another chance for a few
No, he's
weeks.
telling you, don't worry about that.
I did put it for you because you were okay. I'll read it.
What do you mean I don't get another chance? Whole life.
Whole life is there. Yeah.
I will have more time in the hospital.
Right. Okay. As it is stated in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna's expansion is situated in everyone's heart as the supersoul. But in this case, instead of expanding himself as the supersoul, he expanded himself as a portion of cows and cowherd boys for one continuous year. One day, a few days before a year had passed, Krishna and Balaram were maintaining the cows in the forest when they saw some cows grazing on the top of Govardhan Hill. The cows could see down into the valley where the calves were being taken care of by the boys. Suddenly, on sighting the cows began to run towards them. They leaped downhill with joined front and rear legs. The cows were so melted with affection for the calves that they did not care about the rough path from the top of Govardhan Hill down to the pasturing ground. They approached the cows with their milk bags full of milk, and they raised their tails upwards. When they were coming down the hill, their milk bags were pouring milk on the ground out of intense maternal affection for the cows, although they were not their own cows. These cows had their own calves, and the calves that were grazing beneath Govardhan Hill were larger. They were not expected to drink milk directly from the milk bag, but were satisfied with the grass. Yet all the cows came immediately and began to lick their bodies, and the calves also began to suck milk from the milk bags. There appeared to be great bond of affection between the cows and the calves. Shall I carry on or?
I think we missed one paragraph. Am I right?
Yes.
Or
Yeah, we did.
Did I miss also?
I think we missed 2 paragraphs. I was just trying to find where we were. I was like really lost. And then I found it when you got to the end. Sorry, I was a bit slow there to respond. I don't know if anyone else caught that.
Yes.
So is it okay if we go back a couple of paragraphs
Yeah.
to come to this one? Sorry, I couldn't follow. We're reading from All the Boys Dealt with Their Mothers as Usual. So just go back a couple of paragraphs.
All the boys began to deal with their mothers and mothers as usual. You started reading the paragraph before.
Oh, right. Yeah,
Yeah.
one paragraph. All the boys dealt with their mothers as usual, and the mothers also, on the approach of evening, bathed their respective children, decorated them with tilak and ornaments, and gave them necessary food after the day's labor. The cows also, who had been away in the pasturing ground, returned in the evening and called their respective calves. The calves immediately came to their mothers, and the mothers began to lick the bodies of the calves. These relations of the cows and the gopis with their cows and boys remain unchanged. Although actually the original cows and boys were not there. Actually, the cows' affection for their calves and the elder gopis' affection for their boys causelessly increased. Their affection increased naturally, even though the calves and boys were not their offspring. Although the cows and elder gopis of Vrindavan had greater affection for Krishna than for their own offspring, after this incident, their affection for their offsprings increased unlimitedly, exactly as it did for Krishna. For 1 year continuously, Krishna himself expanded as the calves and the cowherd boys and was present in the pasturing ground.
Yes, so I think we discussed this quite a bit. If anyone else would like to add some comments or questions, that's welcome. So nobody would be able to read this pastime if they were reading it correctly with the right guidance. Then nobody would be able to read this pastime with this misunderstanding that Krishna is not God, you know. Because through this pastime we can see how how to put it. There's no way you can like have as much affection for someone's own child. You cannot do all these same type of activities for someone else's child as you would for your own child, and your love would increase. Like if a strange child just walked into your home, you just wouldn't be able to treat them in that way, you know, as your own child. Right?
Right.
So this pastime, it very clearly proves that fact that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. If the pastime is understood correctly, there can be no misconception. Yet we find there's so many commentators on the Srimad Bhagavatam and other scriptures that come up with so many incorrect conclusions, you know, so many like speculative, you know, misunderstandings. And therefore, Bhaktivedanta Thakur, in the same way that he describes the different demons of Vrindavan to represent different anarthas, his commentary on this pastime is that by understanding this pastime properly, we become free from the karma and jnana, performing fruitive activity, performing activity for some personal motivation, or trying to speculate or trying to understand something for our own benefit. He says that by understanding this pastime, we become free from karma and jnana, because we get closer to bhakti. Because the Vedas, they mostly speak about karma and jnana, and bhakti is kind of the undercurrent in all of the Vedas. But Brahma, he had all karmic power. He could perform any activity, and he had all jnanic power as well. He had the greatest intelligence. But still his bhakti wasn't quite as perfect as the Brajavasis. So he was excelled by the Brajavasis in that way. Because you can see the kind of affection they had for Krishna. That Krishna came back to them in their home, and their affection for their child or their calf increased. Such was their affection for Krishna, actually.
Yeah, Brahma did have a bhakti, but not a pure bhakti.
So this is the amazing feature of bhakti, that it's greater than karma and jnana. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur explains that in this way, that one can rectify this anatta we have to accumulate karma and jnana and establish bhakti as our goal in life. Is that okay? Mataji, would you like to read the next paragraph? Madhvi Mataji.
Yeah. As it is stated in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna's expansion is situated in everyone's heart as the supersoul. But in this case, instead of expanding himself as a supersoul, he expanded himself as a portions of cows and cowherd boys for one continuous year. One day, a few days before a year had passed, Krishna and Balaram were maintaining the cows in the forest when they saw some cows grazing on the top of Govardhan Hill. The cows could see down into the valley where the cows were being taken care of by the boys. Suddenly, on sighting the cows began to run toward them. They leaped downhill with joint front and rear legs. The cows were so melted with affection for the cows that they did not care about the rough path from the top of Govardhan Hill down to the pasturing ground. They approached the cows with their milk bags full of milk, and they raised their tails upwards. When they were coming down the hill, their milk bags were pouring milk on the ground out of intense maternal affection for the cows, although they were not their own cows. These cows had their own calves, and the calves that were grazing beneath Govardhan Hill were larger. They were not expected to drink milk directly from the milk bags, but were satisfied with the grass. Yet all the cows came immediately and began to lick their bodies, and the cows also began to suck milk from the milk bags. There appeared to be a great bond of affection between the cows and the calves.
So it's quite an extraordinary scene, this description, isn't it?
Yeah.
So my mom mentioned this before. So this is the description of like how now, because we read about how the mothers saw their sons, and now we're reading about how the cows are seeing their calves. So is anything that stood out for you? You can add to this. Yes.
Guruji, all this time, probably a year ago, I used to always wonder how Krishna could expand himself into so many valas and so many cows. But I think my understanding has been clear now when I have learned that there is a super soul, the Paramatma is there within us. So you are Jiva and also Ishwar, and it has clarified my thinking. So I'm very happy. Just this small two sentence paragraph, I'm just reflecting on my own understanding, and it is more clearer now. So I just wanted to share that. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing that. Appreciate it. Yeah, so there are two souls in the heart. Yeah. So there's Atma and Paramatma. Yes. And actually you can add to that further that in the spiritual world, there is no Paramatma. The Paramatma, he is an expansion of Vishnu. So in these pastimes, when they happen in the spiritual world, there's no need for Paramatma. There's only need for Paramatma when you're away from the spiritual world. Like he has to accompany you everywhere. You cannot be without Krishna, actually. So in the spiritual world, those souls, they have a spiritual body. They have pure spirit soul, and they have a spiritual body. They don't require God to be in their heart because they're seeing God face to face. In whichever, rasa, as we say, or whichever way they want to worship him, they see him in that way. So yeah.
So we
Yeah.
are a spiritual soul in a material body. So that's why we don't know when we get confused.
That's right, yeah.
And when you are away from a spiritual world, then you always seeking guidance. That's why we have Paramatma, isn't it? Because we are affected by 3 modes of material nature. But there is no 3 modes of material nature in a spiritual world.
Yeah, that's right, Prabhu. So the super soul,
Everyone is
what's the function of the super soul? Krishna explains in Bhagavad Gita that Jnana Smritira Pramohanam Cha, that he gives us knowledge, remembrance, and forgetfulness.
Yeah.
So we cannot even remember something if the super soul wasn't telling us to remember. We cannot even forget something unless the super soul told us to forget. And we cannot know anything without Krishna. So this is actually how small we really are. This is how insignificant the soul really is without Krishna. So the super soul has to be there for us to even function in the very most basic ways. So we just take all these things for granted. This is what it means to forget Krishna. To think that I am the doer, I am the enjoyer, I am the proprietor of everything I have. So this understanding comes from a material aspect.
And interesting is in a spiritual world, there is no time, is it? Like no day or night.
Yeah, that's a whole big topic in itself. Yeah. Smita Mataji, would you like to?
This is it linked with your karma as well? So that like, if you the super soul will direct you to remember, not remember, or have that intelligence. Is that linked with the karma, with your past?
Yeah.
Karma?
Yeah. Satyanarayana Prabhu, you were going to say?
No, I was just saying, yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, unless you like to.
Yeah, so Paramatma is there as the witness. Paramatma, he simply means the witness. So he's witnessing our activities and he's giving us everything we deserve. That's all. Everything we get is what we deserve. Sometimes it's very difficult to accept.
But it can, right? By
Okay.
chance, it can change.
Yes. Yeah, we can change what we deserve. We can change our karma.
Yeah.
So actually, in most cases, karma is fixed. But by performing bhakti yoga, karma can change. Because then we put Krishna in charge of our activities. If we are thinking that I'm the controller of my activities, then we have to be respect. We are taking our ownership on us. So then Krishna gives us our karma for it. If we think I'm going to do everything for Krishna, then he takes responsibility. We don't have any karma. So it's just a small change of mindset that I want to do everything for Krishna in the way that he likes. We don't have to do anything differently. We just do all the things we do for Krishna. That small mindset is just all it takes to be free from karma, to devote oneself to Krishna, devote every activity to Krishna. Once we can say it's easy, but actually it's not so easy, right? Otherwise we wouldn't be here. But that's all it is. It's just that. Krishna consciousness is just that.
Yeah, he's a witness and he only gives us guidance when we seek a guidance. Otherwise, he doesn't interfere.
Yes. We have our free will. It's up to us. So, coming back to this wonderful description in this paragraph, it's such a graphic scene that these cows are running down the Govardhan hill and there's hard rocks and they're stamping through them and the milk bags are full.
Yeah.
You know, so it's explained that the milk bags are full because the milk comes from affection. So the milk bags are so full, the milk is dripping out and it's just causing, like, you know, for the gopas who are looking after these cows, the elder gopas, this is like chaos, you know.
Mm.
All the cows are just stampeding all of a sudden because the boys are coming at the bottom of the hill, you know, and the cows are at the top of the hill, and they're just stampeding down because of their children, and the gopas are losing control of the whole situation. So this is what we're reading about now. You see, how the cows are stampeding because they've seen their children for Krishna. So you can see their love is also intensified. So even they're getting that experience of being the parent of Krishna, and even we're seeing how much love the devotees have for Krishna because of the arrangement that Brahma has made. See, so many different features of the pastime are fulfilled. Okay, so let's jump back into the pastimes. Maybe we can have the last reader. Sorry, I didn't hand over properly. So who's next? Is it Shamrani Mataji? You want to read for the last 10 minutes?
Jai Prakash Prabhu, does he want to read? Because he did put his number down.
Oh,
go on. You can read this week.
Okay, thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you.
When the cows were running down from the top of Govardhan Hill, the men who were taking care of them tried to stop them. Elderly cows were taken care of by the man, and the calves were taken care of by the boys. As far as possible, the calves are kept separate from the cows, so that the calves do not drink all the available milk. Therefore, the men who were taking care of the cows on the top of Govardhan Hill tried to stop them, but they failed. Baffled by their failure, they were feeling ashamed and angry. They were very unhappy, but when they came down and saw their children taking care of the calves, they all of a sudden became very affectionate towards the children. It was very astonishing. Although the men came down disappointed, baffled, and angry, as soon as they saw their own children, their hearts melted with a great affection. At once their anger, dissatisfaction, and unhappiness disappeared. They began to show paternal love for the children, and with great affection they lifted them in their arms and embraced them. They began to smell their children's heads and enjoy their company with great happiness. After embracing their children, the man again took the cows back to the top of Govardhan Hill. Along the way, they began to think of their children, and affectionate tears fell from their eyes.
Okay, so the drama is like it's building up now, isn't it? The next level. Huh? So first of all, these cows are like charging down the hill, and now secondly, the gopas they're getting really frustrated and angry. Huh? So all these things are being experienced, and then what happens? What happens next? Anyone can say?
So
Sorry.
continue, Mataji.
Carry on.
Continue, Mataji. I always speak, so.
No, I was just going to say that. So they saw the children and they forgot all the anger, and again, they're attracted to the children more than they would have been because it's Krishna is giving them that attraction, maybe.
Yeah. So I don't know. For me personally, I just it makes me laugh, you know. Just like you just don't know what's going to happen next. Huh? How the pastime. I've obviously read this pastime many times before, but every time it's just like it's really funny, huh? Just don't like it's always full of surprise and amazement. Amazing. As Prabhupada says, it was very astonishing. You know. So amidst all this calamity, then they just completely forget, isn't it? That the cows are going wild, the cows are going wild. You know, all this drama is there because they just see their children, and then just like complete peace, and they're just like, oh, you know. So in one sense, I was thinking, this isn't just Brahma Vimohan Leela. This is like all the Brajavasis are in like this Mohan, huh? This Vimohan, isn't it? Therefore, Krishna is called Madan Mohan. He's bewildering everyone, right? Anyone else add to this, or if you have any questions?
And then the last sentence, the last part, it says that the Gopas start along the. It says that began to think of their children, and had affectionate tears. So it's like tears of separation, like you would be when you have tears of separation from Krishna. You have that feeling, and the Gopas are feeling that now.
Yeah, really wonderful point. Yeah, it's such a significant sentence, isn't it? Yeah. So it's like, it's really touched them, isn't it? Their love for their child, you know, or so-called child. But even afterwards, after the incident has passed, I think this is, in my understanding, is after the incident has passed, isn't it?
Hmm.
The men took the cows back to the top of Govardhan Hill. So after all this, you know, after they embraced the children and all the milk has just gone all over the place and the cows have drunk all the milk, and then they take everything back. They take their cows back to the top of the hill. But still, they're, like Mataji is saying, they've still got these tears in their eyes, you know. It's like not even over for them yet. Yeah, really nice point, Mataji. Thank you. But they still have these tears of affection. It was just so, you know, it was so heart touching, just seeing the children. Like they see them every day, but not quite.
Prabhu, can I say something?
Please.
So, like the gopis who desired that Krishna could be their son, maybe these cows also must have desired to serve Krishna. So, therefore, the cows became, Krishna became the cows, and therefore the cows' desire to feed Krishna was also satisfied.
Yes,
So,
exactly.
yeah, Krishna did not just have mercy on the gopis, but also on other living jivas.
Yes, that's right. Yeah. So by becoming the cows and the calves and the boys, then the calves, the bulls, even that's not mentioned here, even, and also the gopas and the gopis, they will experience Krishna's love intensified. Yeah. So you can imagine, like, if someone's a cowherd man, you know, or someone's like a farmer, and they take care of cows, and you know, this is like their livelihood, you know. They have to, you know, get the milk and then, you know, produce all the different milk products and then sell that on and so on, you know. So they just completely lost concept of that, you know, just from seeing their children. So maybe it's a little bit late to bring this point in after reading all this exciting stuff. But it's also there, you know, like how, because they were like very, you know, like they have that duty of being a gopa, you know, taking care of, you know, the milk products and things, but it's just kind of, there's a whole chaotic situation, and they just completely forgot about all of that, just on seeing their own children. So it was that, to that extent, from a fatherly or from a paternal perspective, you know, the father's always thinking, you know, I have to provide for the children, and you know, I have to, you know, have the money and, you know, provide all everyone in the house. So that cow is their livelihood, you know. And so that just goes out of the window because they see their children. So that was the limit of the affection that Krishna gave them. You see, the extent, I should say, of the affection which Krishna gave them. Yeah. So wow, it's already 9 o'clock nearly, huh? Preeti Mataji would like to say something?
Yeah, Hare Krishna. So I just want to say, like, when they saw their children, it says that once their anger, dissatisfaction, and unhappiness disappeared. It's like when we turn to Krishna. Earlier there was a discussion on chanting and that earlier, like in today's class, and it's like just turning, like going towards chanting. If I'm in a mood, like any one of these things, then it kind of disappears by the end, like just feel at ease. So like when they saw their children, who was actually Krishna, then that anger and dissatisfaction and unhappiness disappeared for them.
Wow, yeah. Full circle. So connect it back to the start again. So yeah, this is the impact of connecting with Krishna through his holy names also. Because Krishna is certainly present in his holy name. And all of these unwanted qualities, they can all disappear by the chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra. So if we ever feel disappointed or baffled or angry, chant Hare Krishna and be happy. Yeah. Yeah, that's a really nice point. Anyone else? So we have a couple of minutes left. I don't know, we could read one more paragraph and discuss, or we could just end a couple of minutes early. What would you like to do? Should we call it a day now? Yeah? Okay. So thanks everyone.
Hare Krishna, everybody.
I just have a short announcement actually, just remembered. So this Friday is the beginning of a very significant period of time. Some of you may be aware or may not be. But this Friday is the beginning of the Purushottam month. Okay, just raise your hands if you've heard of Purushottam month before. Okay, looks like everyone who's on the video has heard of. Okay, Sashi Mataji hasn't heard of it yet. Is that right? New for you. Okay, exciting. So the Purushottam month is a very special month. In the Vedic calendar, of course, we follow lunar calendar, not like the Western calendar. We follow the movement of the moon rather than the movement of the sun. Okay, and so there's an extra month which comes in, just like in the Western calendar you have a leap year day. You know, in February there's an extra day. Well, in the Vedic calendar there's a whole extra month. Every few years, every 3 or 4 years. Strange as it may sound, that actually works out. It's more aligned with actual time, the eternal time principle. Anyway, without being overly technical, there's an extra month which is called the Purushottam month. And of course, who is Purushottam? Krishna. Krishna is the Supreme Personality, Purushottam. And so this is Krishna's month. So Krishna gives extra benefit of practicing devotional service or doing bhakti yoga or remembering Krishna in this month. So let's all try and take every advantage we can this Purushottam month, starting this Friday. So try and do more devotional service, try and do more reading, more hearing of lectures, more chanting of japa, or if you don't want to increase it in quantity, then increase in the quality, or if even better, both increase the quality and the quantity of your spiritual practice. Many devotees have heard of Kartik month, yeah? Have you heard of Kartik month, Sashi Mataji? Kartik is another special month. So it said that the Purushottam month, so it said that actually Kartik you get 1,000 times the benefit of devotional service performed in Kartik. But in the Purushottam month you get 1,000 times the benefit of what you do in Kartik. So it's like an ordinary day of japa, you know. You do 1 round in Kartik, you get 1,000 rounds in 1 round. Yeah, I don't know if you got any mathematicians in the room, but if you do 1,000, if you do 1 round in Purushottam month, you get 1,000 times 1,000. Yeah. So what's that? 1 million. So doing one round in the Purushottam month is like doing 1 million rounds. Yeah. I don't think I need to say any more than that. So let's all make the most.
In a Vedic, it's called Adhik Mas. And Adhik means extra month.
Yeah.
No,
Extra
why,
month, yeah.
why we got extra? Why Krishna is giving extra month every few years? Does anybody know? Because I heard that because people were complaining like that we can't do chanting, we can't do this, we can't do that, we can't do your bhakti. So Krishna said, all right, okay, you can't do it. I'll give you every few years a full month called Adhik Mas, extra month. And in that month, you can chant and read whatever activities you do, devotional service you do. That's why you get 1,000 times, so it lasts 3 years. I don't know if it's true or not.
And you don't have excuse.
No, don't have excuse
that you don't have a time.
Krishna hasn't given you time, so Krishna has given us
No excuse. Yeah.
no excuse.
So, so if you're anything like me, then you'll feel like you've got a long, long way to go before you start experiencing what we're reading here in the Krishna book. I certainly feel like this is very far from me. But if you got 1 million times the benefit of what you're doing, then wouldn't you do it much more with more attention and more faith and more devotion? Then this is the month, the Purushottam month. So we can maybe share some things in the group about this Purushottam month. In our WhatsApp group. If you're not on the WhatsApp group, then reach out to me. Can I do in? I'm not sure if everybody is, but we can put some more information on there, and then you have more understanding of this auspicious month. Okay. Shyam Vallabh Gopi Mataji has hand raised. I don't know if that was from earlier.
And I was saying, I was just hearing a lecture on Purushottam month recently, and what they say is, because we've accumulated so much karma, right? So this is like the bonus month where it's for the devotees to get rid of their past life karma. So you could progress fast in our Krishna consciousness in this month if you make use of it, basically. Like negate of past karma from previous lives. It's because it's built up so much, basically. So you have to make the most of it, basically.
Yeah. So we can get rid of so many past lives of karma. Yeah. And so Krishna is giving us extra advantage to do that for the devotees. Huh? All right. So we'll post some more about this month. Thank you everyone for contributing this week. Thank you for those who read and commented and asked questions and just generally participated by attendance. So use this next few days maybe to plan, like how would you like to do something extra for Krishna? He's given us extra month, Adhik Mas. So let's all try and do something extra for Krishna. Adhik Seva. Okay.
Can I just
Ki Jai.
can I just say something before we finish? Right. Satyana Prabhu is going to have a... Sorry.
Why are you saying that then?
I don't know. He's going for an operation next Monday.
Okay. Anantacharya, Prabhu.
Sorry. I haven't broken down, but today I'm still like that. Please pray for him. He's having an open heart surgery.
Satyanarayan Prabhu is going for a surgery.
Satyanarayan Prabhu is having surgery on Monday.
Yes, he's going for open heart surgery. So it's obviously big surgery is going. So Mataji would like to pray for everyone, for Prabhuji.
Yes, certainly. Thank you for informing us, Mataji. Certainly Prabhu will be in our prayers. Yeah. We very much need your association. You so giving so much benefit to our Sangha. So we're wishing you all the best. So yeah, let's all try and use these next few days to pray to Krishna in different ways, and hope that this becomes very successful for Prabhu. so he can continue his devotional life.
She's crying and I'm making a joke that I'm going to take my own knife and scissors because I don't trust knife and scissors in the hospital.
Well, you're a stalwart devotee, Prabhu. There's nothing which is not achievable.
That's a
for you.
Krishna consciousness. Why worry?
Still, we are very much indebted to you. We very much need you. So certainly we'll offer our prayers to the Lord.
We will try to do extra rounds for your health, Prabhu.
Thank you.
Yes, that's very nice as well.
Because always Vaishnava's prayers and devotees' prayers does help.
And Krishna says, those who say they are my devotees, they are not my devotees. Those who are the devotees of my devotees, they are really my devotees. And we all know that Satyanarayan Prabhu is certainly a devotee of Krishna. So if we can devote some time to him and make an offering to Krishna on his behalf, then certainly we'll benefit by trying to serve him in this small way. So yeah.
Chant extra rounds, but I also want you to eat more prasadam.
Okay, Prabhu. He's part of prasadam because I think for a couple of days he won't be able to.
Because I won't be eating much, will I?
And he won't be chanting. So.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you very
I'm
much.
sincerely wishing you all the best, Prabhu, for myself personally, and I encourage everyone in the group also to please pray for Prabhuji, for speedy recovery, and to join us again in the Sangha. Okay, let's all chant one mantra for Satyanarayan Prabhu. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Krishna Krishna,
Hare Hare, Hare
Hare
Rama,
Rama,
Rama Rama, Hare
Hare
Hare.
Hare.
And we can continue here on after. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Thank you, everybody. Good night.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Jai Ram.
Thank you, Prabhu.